The last 24 hours have been the worst for relations between India and Canada. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has bitten off way more than he can chew by deciding to wage a diplomatic war with India. After openly lying about a conversation with Modi at the recent ASEAN summit in Laos, Trudeau has displayed his signature insecurity by deploying Canada's government machinery to continue the ambiguous allegations that were first made by him last year over the killing of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Canada. Only this time, Trudeau is even more of a laughingstock because nearly everyone, including his own party, sees his move as a laughably obvious attempt to distract from the whirlpool that threatens to sink his domestic political career. In recent months, Trudeau has found himself grappling with a series of domestic issues that have significantly dented his political standing and threatened his future career in politics. Record low popularity ratings, a rebellion by 20 MPs from his own party demanding Trudeau's ouster, humiliating defeats in recent by-elections in bastions, his own ally Jagmeet Singh abandoning him, not wanting to be dragged down by Trudeau, a worsening housing crisis in Canada, public anger over rising prices and crime, and damning proof of Chinese interference in previous elections won by Trudeau have all made the Canadian Prime Minister a deeply unpopular, very desperate man who badly needs a distraction. And that's where India comes in. Knowing full well that the Khalistan issue is emotive enough and likely to elicit an escalatory response from India, Trudeau chose this as his weapon of mass distraction. And as we've seen from the fallout over the last 24 hours, Trudeau clearly chose well, but he has basically bitten off more than he can chew, and I'll explain why. It is important for the people of Canada and India to know that Justin Trudeau has severely, first off, harmed relations between the two countries purely to save his skin and buy some time perhaps to breathe and recoup from the disastrous all-round attacks he's facing domestically in Canada. It's a time-tested method used by world leaders when they're in any serious soup at home, point a finger abroad and talk about an external threat. The truth is, however, Trudeau has never been more unpopular than he is now in Canada, and it's having an effect on his ability to navigate his trembling minority government till Canada's next election scheduled for October 2025. All polls in the country show that if elections were held today in Canada, Trudeau would be obliterated. A series of opinion polls have indicated that public confidence in the Trudeau government has hit record lows, driven by concerns over economic mismanagement, rising costs of living, and other many pressing issues. Trudeau's Liberal Party's embarrassing defeat in recent by-elections in Montreal and Toronto further underscores his decline. Losing traditionally liberal strongholds and failing to make inroads in key regions has left his party vulnerable as it heads into an uncertain political future under Trudeau's leadership. To distract from that, he's decided to risk 250,000 Indian students in Canada, nearly 2 million Canadian Indians, people of Indian origin in that country, and an otherwise healthy old relationship between two large democracies. That is what he has risked for saving his own skin. With more escalations likely ahead from both sides, Trudeau's desperation is also likely to cost Canada and India billions, something Canada can ill afford at this time. One of the most critical issues that has tarnished Trudeau's leadership is the housing crisis in that country. Canada's housing market has become increasingly unaffordable for many citizens, particularly in major cities like Toronto and Vancouver. Home prices have surged, and a lack of affordable housing options has led to widespread frustration among Canadians who are struggling to find a place to live without breaking the bank. In Canada's history, never has homelessness been as high as it is under Justin Trudeau. Proof of Chinese interference in at least 2 elections that Trudeau won has also led to widespread anger against the Canadian Prime Minister and his party and raised questions about the integrity of Canada's electoral system. Trudeau has protested innocence, but his track record means nobody, including his own party, is in any mood to believe him. while Trudeau's accusations are serious, he has further destroyed Canada's reputation, such as it is, by failing to provide any evidence whatsoever to support claims of Indian involvement in the killing of a Khalistani terrorist last year. Worse, as an indicator of just how desperate Trudeau is to divert his domestic audience from his disastrous unpopularity and track record, Trudeau actually had his federal police name India's High Commissioner Sanjay Verma to Canada and other officials, thereby painting a dangerous target on them, very much the same way that Khalistani terror groups have been doing for the last 2 years. In other words, Trudeau, in his pathetic, embarrassing, demeaning effort to bend over backwards to curry favor with Khalistani groups in Canada, has deployed the Canadian government to behave like those groups. That is the painful truth of what Trudeau has done to a once proud country, but one with a troubled legacy, it must be said, of providing a safe haven to terrorists, including Khalistanis, assassins, and criminal gangsters. By drawing public attention to a high-profile international dispute like this one that he's opened with India, Trudeau clearly hoped to rally nationalistic sentiments and distract from the more pressing issues facing Canadians at home. This approach allows Trudeau to shift the narrative and present himself as a leader standing up for Canadian sovereignty, when ironically the only sovereignty Trudeau is really worried about right now is his own. So desperate is Trudeau that in his press conference earlier today, he made a distinction between South Asians and the Sikh community. Can you believe that? He knows that Sikhs cannot be separated from India. A faith, Sikhs, born in undivided India with roots in Nankana Sahib, Kartarpur Sahib, and the formation of the Khalsa in Anandpur Sahib. This community, the Sikhs, played a pivotal role in the downfall of both the British and the Mughal empires. To distance them from India is like disowning figures like Banda Bahadur, Hari Singh Nalwa, Kartar Singh Sarbha, and even Bhagat Singh. But that is what Trudeau is trying to do in order to be loved and cherished by Khalistani terrorists. Trudeau has gambled with the lives of hundreds of thousands of Canadian Indians, many of whom have close ties to India. He has cast to the wind an old relationship, all because he feels the ground slip beneath his feet. He's now officially the smallest leader in the world. There is none smaller today, viewer, than Justin Trudeau.